My name is David McCallum. I'm a manager with the New Opportunity Development Group in the TCP, Technology Commercialization and Partnerships Division. And so thanks everyone for coming to this presentation on the basics of SPIN. So the situation we have at the moment is that Argonne, the vast majority of the funds we rely on to do our world-class research comes from just one sponsor, which is, of course, the Department of Energy. Unfortunately, the DOE budget is unpredictable. As we know, up until 2 or 3 months ago, things weren't looking so good for the lab, but we've come out well. But that may change in the near future over the next few years. Changing funding priorities within the department may mean that less funds will be available to do to the national labs to do the science. The question we therefore face is how can we obtain the funds we need to continue to do our work at or above the current level? And one of the answers to that is that we can seek funds from sponsors outside of our traditional funding base. And the purpose of this presentation is to provide an introduction to the Sponsored Program Information Network, SPIN, database of funding opportunities. So feel free to ask questions, interrupt me to ask questions through this presentation. Okay, so why do we need money? I think we all know the answer to this, but we need money to continue to do excellent, impactful science and engineering. It's important to the PI and it's important to the lab. So the PIs obviously need to raise funds to do their work, but they also, to do that, they need to be able to locate winnable opportunities. Funding opportunities are mostly intensely competitive, and the important thing is to do, I think, is to do a targeted approach to locate relevant, winnable funding opportunities and go after those. Also, obviously, it's important to Argonne. Most of the lab's budget, as I said before, comes from the DOE, and that budget has been flat to declining in real dollars over the last several years. So in response to these necessities, I should say, many Argonne staff are seeking new sources of funding. So either other parts of the DOE, non-federal sources such as industry, or not-for-profits such as foundations. All of these funding sources, typically elicit proposals via published opportunities. And SPIN is a tool for searching through the vast number of published funding opportunities that are available and locating applicable funding opportunities. So, a bit of background here. Before I started working for the lab, which is about 4 years ago, I worked for a company called Microlink, a small business. We did not have a budget for research and development funded internally. If we wanted to do research and development, the board was fine with that, but we had to go and get our own money. So the way we did that was to respond to mainly federal funding opportunities, DOE, DOD, that type of thing. And although we were operating in a fairly narrow range of activities, we were doing solar cell work, and we spent a fair amount of time looking for funding opportunities. It was absolutely amazing to me, the number that we missed. And on a few occasions, our funding agents did actually call us up and say, hey, look, there's a funding opportunity going. You guys haven't put in a letter of interest. We'd strongly encourage you to apply. That's kind of embarrassing that you missed funding opportunities. And to be honest, I would love to have an application like SPIN back in those days, but my boss was too cheap to cough up the money for something like this. So I think SPIN is a great resource that's available to everyone at the lab, and I strongly encourage you to use it. Okay, so as again, please feel free to ask questions. Okay, so some background on SPIN. Well, as I said, Sponsored Program Information Network. It claims to be the world's largest searchable database of funding opportunities. More than 40,000 opportunities at any one time from more than 10,000 sponsors. It includes old favorites such as DOD, DHS, DARPA, NSF, NIH, etc., the usual alphabet soup agencies. By the way, about 96% of Argonne's funding comes from the first 3 funding agencies on that list, DOE, DOD, DHS. So there's also among the 10,000 sponsors, there's a wide variety of potential new sponsors. One key caveat, though, is that you need to bear in mind the eligibility of the national labs to apply for funding opportunities in the SPIN database, and we'll talk about that in more detail in a few minutes. SPIN also has a fast, capable search engine, so you can search in a number of fields. You can filter results, you can save results, save searches, and you can automatically run searches and receive updates. So if you're going after some funding area or some funding agency, you can set up a search and run it and automatically run it at intervals. The SPIN database is available to all Argonne researchers at no cost. The lab has a subscription, and there's more general information on the database at the link shown there. It's run by a company called InfoEd. Oh, by the way, just a show of hands, who here has actually heard of SPIN before we have publicized this presentation? No one? Oh, one, two. Okay, so we did a survey on this a few months ago. I think about 5% of the lab staff had heard of SPIN, and of the 5%, maybe 1 or 2% had actually used it. So I think it's a resource which is underused. So hence today's training. Okay, so this presentation is really a very much an introductory level. To be honest, the SPIN interface is not really difficult to use. It only took me a couple of days to come up to speed on it. So the idea here is just to give you the high-level view of the interface and the relevant features, so that you guys can go up the learning curve more quickly than I did. Okay, so first thing, how to access SPIN. It's available on Perl. You log into Perl using your usual Argonne credentials. You don't have to create a user account to use SPIN, but I'd strongly recommend that you do, because if you create an account, it gives access to some very valuable additional features, such as the ability to save searches, to configure alerts for funding opportunities, and to bookmark those opportunities. Also, you should notice that you can access the SPIN database from off-site, so via the web portal. So you don't have to be on site to use it. Limitations of SPIN. As I said before, it's extremely important to check that you are actually eligible, or the lab is eligible, to apply to receive funds before starting to write an application. The absolute worst way you can waste your time is to write an application which will not succeed because the lab is not eligible to apply for it. So the contact internally is Diane Hart. She's also in the room. So before applying for any opportunity, I'd strongly encourage you to check that the lab is eligible to apply by talking to Diane about this. Okay, so SPIN is a complementary resource to the Funding Opportunities newsletter, which we also publish. This comes out every couple of weeks, and it provides highlighted opportunities for which the national labs are eligible. It also provides background information on how to apply. So let's talk now about the SPIN key. This is a high-level view of the key features of SPIN. As I said, the learning curve isn't very steep. Okay, so this slide shows the SPIN homepage. Here, as you can see, I have signed up for an account, and we're just going to go through these 5 pull-down menus here and look at the main features of SPIN. The 5 tabs there, not necessarily in sequence, but they show the main features. Okay, so first one is the search mode, the search tab. There's 3 search modes: text search, keyword search, and advanced search. It's pretty much as one would expect. The text. So what SPIN does is that it reviews funding opportunities, and it collects the data about the funding opportunities, puts into a searchable database, and then we have access to that database. So one of the things it collects is the text of the full text of the opportunity announcement. So you can search in that text. SPIN, the company SPIN, also assigns keywords to funding opportunities, and so you can search on the keywords associated with the funding opportunity. And then there's an advanced search. You can customize a search based on the data fields associated with any given opportunity. All of these can be combined with filters to reduce the number of search results you obtain. Also, you can see here that there are a couple of things, a couple of features. New and modified opportunities and pending deadlines, so you can search by those as well. To be honest, I don't recommend new and modified opportunities or impending deadlines because you'll get too many results and you cannot actually search within the results list for those. Text search, okay, I'll run through this really quickly. You know, it's got all the features that one would expect in a text search engine. As I said, that searches on the text of the opportunity announcement. Yeah, I know. Thanks. Okay, there we go. Keyword search. Okay, so each opportunity is cataloged by one of about 3,500 predefined keywords. The Spin management does this. You can search on those keywords directly or via nested menus, and the keywords can be combined via or and operators. So you can see here there's nested categories, category 1, 2, and 3. So here we're searching on science, technology, materials, science, technology, mathematics, and computing, subcategory, then subcategory. Choose the keywords, select the keywords, and then these appear back in this text box here. And you can search on those, run a search based on those. The search is very fast, almost instantaneous, so you won't be waiting around for a long time. Perhaps the best feature is the advanced search. It allows you to go highly specific search definitions. You can fill out the different fields or add additional fields to make the query more specific or to query over more quantities. More fields, I should say, to search over more fields. So here, for example, we're looking for water, programs related to water. Sponsor would be the US federal government. Deadlines after a certain date. And we're not looking for water processing, so that does not contain. And you can add new fields to your heart's content to make this search increasingly specific. And here the list of the results we found, 14. And you know, we can scroll down to access those results, to review the results. Okay, so you run a search query, you've got loads and loads of results, hundreds of results. How do you filter those out to be more specific to your needs? Well, there's a Preferences tab, and you can filter on a number of categories, including sponsor types. So you can, if you know for a fact that some sponsors will not accept proposals from National Lab, you can exclude those. Applicant locations, sometimes the work has to be done in the US or in a specific state, Illinois. Or the project has to be conducted in a certain area. You can filter for those. Another thing you can do is you can filter only for results, only for new results. So suppose you only want to look at this database once every month or so. You can search it. You can configure it to only produce programs which are new or have been updated in the last N days, and you can set that to any value you want, 30, 90 days, depending on how often you use Spin. You can limit yourself to federal opportunities or to limited submission opportunities. You can include or exclude those. Limited submission opportunities are, usually those are ones that will only accept applications from highly specific categories of people or highly specific organizations. And a key point here is that this tab also includes the export data options link. This is not the most obvious place, perhaps, to have this, but we'll be getting back to this later on when we look at how you can export data. This is where you configure the options for that. Okay, so here's a couple of examples of the filters, category filters and Spin search options. So here we're looking for, you can filter for sponsor types. As I said, here we're just set up to do federal government, and then the search options, federal opportunities, limited submission opportunities, and within the last 90 days. So, okay, you've run the search, you've got some results. How you view the results? You click on the opportunity title to view the result, the description, eligibility, and so forth. This actually gives you a complete listing of all the information that's in the SPIN database. So this one is a Department of Homeland Security BAA synopsis of the opportunity, program objectives. This goes on at some length. Then here you've got the eligibility requirements, funding guidelines, and sponsor information. So you can scroll, you can look in these tabs to see this information. That's summarized here. It's also summarized in the results form, sponsor name, number, so on. You can sort by these. You can sort by these values: title, name, etc. No questions so far. Okay. Okay. Data export. You can export the data to Word or Excel, and as I said before, you can configure which of the data fields you do export in the Preferences tab. So there's potentially dozens of data options or data fields that you could export. You can select the ones you want to export by dragging them over to the right-hand side. Okay, so you can also take a look at the details. If you select a set of export data options, you can also inspect the details of those within the search result by clicking on the button on the extreme left-hand side of the results form. So here you can see that we're interested in as we previously selected the contact name, telephone, email, deadline, and brief synopsis. That's all listed here. Bookmarks. You can save opportunities of interest. Yes, question?
I have two questions. Is there any practical limit of how many entries can be loaded? With the option of exporting into Excel.
Yeah. I don't think there's any practical limit. I think you can, as many as you want. It's just you're going to get an extremely large and probably unmanageable Excel spreadsheet at some point. It's up to you. But I don't think there's a limit. I think you could select all the data fields and export them all if you wanted.
Can it also be scheduled to run overnight and export into a directory? Or does it need a human intervention, human navigation?
I don't think you would need to run it overnight. As I said, it's a very fast response. The response is almost instantaneous. So you could tell it to export to a database, and it would do it within a matter of seconds, I think. Okay. Okay, so saving opportunities of interest by bookmarking them. Okay, so to bookmark an opportunity, you click on the relevant icon, specify where to save that file. Another very useful feature here is that you can use what's called SMARTS, and I don't know what that acronym stands for, to receive update emails. So if an opportunity you're interested in, you bookmark that, you want to know if something changes, suppose the funding opportunity has been amended, you want to know about that. You can configure this to let you know when the funding opportunity changes. Bookmark Management. Again, in the Bookmarks tab, you can get a list of all the opportunities you've got bookmarked, and you can add, you can delete those. You use this as a ready reference for opportunities of interest. Go back to them and take a look at them again. You can obviously delete them from the list. And then you can do the usual database things like group, sort, filter the opportunities of interest. Okay, exporting data. As we said before, you selected the fields to be exported in another sheet, and then just click on the box to select the opportunities to export. Then, as I said, export either to Word or to Excel, and you'll end up with a document with all the information that all the selected information in it. You can also save searches. So if you've got some complicated, some search which is highly complicated, you might have taken a long time to decide on the parameters to refine them and get the search set up. You don't have to re-enter that every time. You can save searches and you can run them. Also, it contains a record of when searches were previously run, so you can go back to a search and run it at suitable intervals. So here, for example, we've got some things I was interested in. So we've got water, nuclear proliferation, lasers and quantum optics, and non-proliferation. So there's the dates I created them, and then the dates they were last run. And these can be amended and added to, deleted as necessary. Funding alerts. So under the funding alerts tab, the Smarts function allows allows saved searches to be run automatically, either on a daily or a weekly basis, and the results can be emailed to you. I've got this set up, so I receive emails concerning these areas of opportunity according to this schedule, and you can get an HTML or a plain text version of the email. Okay, last slide about Spin. Help tab. Okay, so there's a help tab which contains information which is probably even more basic than the level of this presentation. But you get some guidance on tech and searches, keywords, advanced search, guidance on setting up Smarts. Also, there are training videos which are entry-level material in an easily digested 2-minute chunks. So you can go through those, provides a reminder. Okay, so just a quick summary. I think that Spin is a very useful tool for locating funding opportunities. When I was in your position as an active researcher, I really wish I'd had access to that tool because it would have saved me a lot of time. I think we know that the lab does pay for access for Spin, but we know that it's not used very much. And we'd like to see the tool used more. So I'd strongly encourage you to do it. Also, if you do decide to use Spin, I'd like to have some feedback on it, just to see, what the hell was that? Okay, we'll say that again. If you decide to use Spin, please provide feedback, positive or negative. We'd like to know how people interact with the tool, good points, bad points. We can provide that feedback back to the InfoEd. They can tweak it for us. Overall, if any questions or comments about Spin, please let me know. Any questions at the moment? A couple. Yes, sir.
I'm sure in the searches, the blue links took you to the actual agency's announcement. So if it was a NASA announcement, it took you to the actual NASA announcement with all the requirements.
Actually, it does not do that. Does not do that. But there is sufficient information within the Spin to allow you to find that opportunity. I mean, there's the number, the opportunity number is typically there. You should be able to find it in the NASA database, let's say, from that number alone. Yes, copies of the slides will be available online. Also, this is being recorded, so a recording of the presentation will be available. Okay, anyone else? Yeah.
Sorry, I assume
no problem.
This collects the same stuff that InfoEd and U.S. government grants and all those databases we used to go to.
It's all in one place. Yeah, and that's the opportunity. Like I said before, it's like typically contents any given time are 40,000 opportunities from 10,000 agencies. The InfoEd, those ones you mentioned, those are mainly grants.gov is U.S. government grants, FedBizOps, U.S. government grants, or U.S. government opportunities. This opens up, this allows the researcher to easily search on a whole universe of funding opportunities outside of the U.S. federal government. Yes?
So this is things that are only publicly announced.
Yeah.
There's no like early warning system, or is there some way to search them?
This is publicly announced. So my understanding is that the InfoEd, the company that manages Spin or runs Spin, they glean this information from the publicly announced opportunities. I don't think they have any ability to. I don't think they get preferential advance notice of funding opportunities. Yes, it does. It includes foundations. The question was, does it include foundations? Yeah, yes, it does. It's very wide. I mean, it's governments, federal government, state governments, local governments, foundations, companies, trade associations, business associations. For example, I was looking at one this morning. It was from the American Vacuum Society. I had a couple of grants there, which were actually limited access grants. So I'm assuming that to get those, you would have to be a member of the society. But huge variety of funding agencies. Anyone else? No? Okay, so I'll conclude with a brief commercial about the other services we provide. Okay, so proposal preparation support. Once you've used the Spin database to find the opportunity of your dreams and you're writing a proposal, please be aware that new opportunity development provides assistance to PIs to prepare proposals. So just to summarize this real quickly, we can provide assistance with preparation and submission of hopefully winning proposals. We can develop capture plans for new competitively awarded funding opportunities. We can help you to work with external contractors to prepare proposals. For information about that, please contact me, David McCallum, at the email address there, also my extensions there. Or you can search on new opportunity development on Inside Argonne. Additional information about support provided by Argonne here. So eligibility again, Diane Hart. If you have any questions about eligibility to apply for a particular funding opportunity, please see Diane. Graphic support. The lab provides support for preparation of publication quality graphics. The contact there is Abby Meeson. Technical writing and editing. The lab provides support for editing, writing, rewriting, or proofreading of text. The contact there is Cheryl Drugan, and there's some unsolicited testimonial that she asked me to include. So that concludes the presentation. So thank you all for coming. Thank you for your attention. There's a survey, quick survey at the back of the room, so I'd encourage you all to fill out a copy of that. Any final questions? No? Okay, well, thanks again.